The air outside 10 Downing Street carries the crisp chill of a late October morning. The familiar black door, an enduring symbol of British power, swings open as photographers gather in anticipation. Moments later, the motorcade arrives. Stepping out in a dark tailored suit is Vietnamese Communist Party General Secretary Tô Lâm, one of the most powerful political figures in Southeast Asia, now making his first official visit to the United Kingdom under Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government. Starmer emerges to greet him personally, smiling as the cameras flash. The two leaders exchange a firm handshake before walking together toward the iconic steps of Number 10. Their brief exchange of words, in cordial, deliberate and symbolic, marks a new chapter in relations between London and Hanoi. Inside the building, the tone turns substantive. Starmer begins with a gesture of hospitality and a clear message of purpose. Welcome to the UK, to London and to Downing Street. It is a simple greeting, but one loaded with diplomatic weight. This is not just a courtesy call. It is a meeting aimed at deepening ties between Britain and one of Asia's most rapidly growing economies. Starmer continues, his tone confident yet measured. I am also very pleased that we can sign our migration agreement, which will build on the good cooperation that already exists between our two countries, making it even faster, even more effective, and having a real impact on many lives. His remarks signal the signing of a landmark migration deal, an agreement long in negotiation, now finalised. The accord aims to streamline the process of returning Vietnamese nationals residing illegally in the UK, while opening new legal migration pathways for skilled workers and students. For both sides, it is a pragmatic solution to a sensitive issue, migration management paired with educational exchange. Cameras capture the close-ups, Starmer's composed expression, the nod of approval from Tô Lâm, and the quiet confidence in both men's demeanour. In that moment, Downing Street becomes more than a setting. It's a stage for a recalibrated global partnership. As the conversation shifts, Starmer outlines broader ambitions. We will also have the opportunity to discuss the economy and trade, as well as how we can strengthen trade between our two countries and improve our defence and security cooperation. This is where the meeting gains strategic depth. Britain, seeking to cement its post-Brexit global identity, views Vietnam as a key partner in Asia, a nation with a fast-growing economy, a young workforce, and increasing geopolitical relevance in the Indo-Pacific region. For Hanoi, ties with London bring both economic opportunity and diplomatic diversification, a counterbalance to its reliance on larger powers like China and the United States. The meeting is quiet but consequential. Trade and defence cooperation, two pillars of Britain's emerging Indo-Pacific strategy, now extend firmly to Vietnam. The two leaders, seated across a polished table beneath the Downing Street chandeliers, exchange notes on renewable energy, education and technology transfer. Both sides have reason to look forward. Vietnam's economy has been expanding at one of the fastest rates in Asia. Its industrial zones hum with production lines manufacturing everything from textiles to semiconductors. British companies, meanwhile, are eager to invest in clean energy, sustainable infrastructure and digital innovation. This alignment of interests gives the relationship a modern edge, one grounded not just in diplomacy, but in economic reality. Tô Lâm listens intently, occasionally smiling as interpreters bridge the language gap. When it is his turn to speak, his tone is formal yet warm. Thank you most sincerely for this kind invitation, Mr. Prime Minister, and I take this opportunity to invite you in turn to visit Vietnam so that we can discuss in more detail ways to enrich bilateral relations between our two countries. It's a polite but meaningful offer, a clear signal that Vietnam is ready to deepen engagement. Behind the courteous words lies a strategic intent to elevate the relationship to the level of a comprehensive partnership, combining trade, education and defence cooperation with regional coordination. For Britain, such gestures carry more than symbolic weight. In recent years, London has sought to expand its influence beyond Europe, re-entering the global stage with renewed focus on Asia. Vietnam, with its stable government and economic dynamism, fits naturally into this vision. The UK's accession to the CPTPP, the Trans-Pacific Trade Bloc, has already created a framework for closer commercial integration. This meeting is a step toward turning that framework into tangible outcomes. As the two leaders speak privately, aides on both sides take notes on future agreements, renewable energy projects, vocational training partnerships, and joint efforts in combating human trafficking. The migration agreement in particular represents a significant moment, a reflection of trust and mutual recognition between two very different political systems. Outside, the London crowd watches as the two men step out once more for the traditional handshake photo. The clicking of cameras echoes across Downing Street. For journalists, it's a familiar scene. For diplomats, it marks the beginning of a new strategic alignment. The symbolism is unmistakable. Vietnam's top leader, standing beside a British Prime Minister, reflects how far the relationship has come since the days when London's view of Hanoi was filtered through Cold War distance. Today, that distance has narrowed. What began as cautious trade dialogues has evolved into a partnership built on pragmatic cooperation and shared interest. Within policy circles, analysts interpret the meeting as part of a broader trend, Britain's quiet but deliberate pivot towards Southeast Asia. The move complements existing ties with Japan, Malaysia and Singapore, while signalling a willingness to engage with emerging regional players. Hanoi, for its part, welcomes such engagement, particularly as it seeks to attract high-tech investment and expand its role in global supply chains. At the heart of the discussions lies a shared understanding. In a world defined by shifting alliances and uncertain trade routes, both nations see value in stability. Britain's post-Brexit identity demands global partnerships. Vietnam's rise depends on diversified diplomacy. The two find common ground not through ideology, but through pragmatism. Starmer's team emphasises that this visit underscores the UK's commitment to fair migration, fair trade and fair partnership. In other words, cooperation without condescension. The tone of the day reflects that principle, respectful, forward-looking and grounded in mutual benefit. Meanwhile, back in Hanoi, state media headlines highlight the strengthening of Vietnam-UK friendship. Commentators in London note that Vietnam's presence in Downing Street, especially under a Labour government, suggests a broader openness toward engaging socialist economies on constructive terms. Inside the cabinet room, discussions continue over tea, a traditional British formality that softens the edge of policy talk. Tô Lâm and Starmer exchange pleasantries about cultural exchange programmes and the growing Vietnamese community in the UK, now numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Many of them have become successful business owners, professionals and students contributing to the British economy, living proof of the ties the two governments are now formalising on paper. There's also talk of education. British universities remain a top destination for Vietnamese students, and both leaders discuss expanding scholarships and joint research programmes. For Vietnam, this represents an investment in its next generation of leaders and innovators. For Britain, it's an opportunity to showcase soft power and attract international talent. As the meeting progresses, aides bring in documents for signature, symbolic agreements that follow months of quiet negotiation. Each pen stroke underlines a shared recognition that bilateral cooperation, when built on trust and respect, can bridge even the widest ideological divides. In the final moments of the visit, Starmer and Tô Lâm step once more before the press. Their body language is relaxed, almost cordial. Behind them, the black door of number 10 reflects the flash of cameras, a silent witness to another chapter in Britain's evolving global diplomacy. Starmer smiles and nods slightly as Tô Lâm waves before departing. The motorcade pulls away, the Downing Street gates close, and for a brief moment, London's political heart regains its calm. But beneath the stillness, a shift has occurred, one that will ripple quietly through trade offices, foreign ministries, and investment councils on both sides. This was not a summit of slogans or spectacle. It was the kind of diplomacy that defines real policy, quiet, purposeful, and grounded in mutual interest. Britain and Vietnam, two nations with vastly different systems and histories, meeting not as adversaries, but as partners seeking common ground in an increasingly complex world. And as the day fades over Westminster, the message from Downing Street is clear. In a time of global uncertainty, engagement, not isolation, remains the most powerful expression of leadership.